Hello, welcome. djvicvapor with you, back with another Bitwig Studio course, and we're going to be taking a look at the Bitwig sampler and some of the new and improved features that have been added. So when you first think of the Bitwig Studio sampler, you need to get it loaded on an instrument channel. So we'll do that now, and I'll just select the plus here, go to Bitwig, and it's under Synth and Sampler. And there you have it. Now the sampler is added, and it comes in its default setting just like this. There's no sample currently in it, but we have to select what we want. So there's a few different ways we can go about that. We can click this folder here, opens up a contextual menu, and it allows us to search for whatever sample we want to add. And you can create multi-samples by clicking here. We'll get into that a little bit later in the course. But first, I am just going to go over here to my browser, drag and drop. Now we've got a synth sample in there. We'll go ahead and close this out of the way, give us some more visual real estate. And here we have the Bitwig sampler, new and improved with a sample loaded. Now I have a MIDI controller and Ableton Push 2 in front of me. So anytime I push a pad here, I'm going to get some playback. So what you notice is, you're not seeing me push the pads, but anywhere I push, any pad I push, the sample plays back at the same pitch and at the same speed. So the sampler comes with 3 different modes. The default is going to open in the Repitch mode, but down here under the little arrow, I can select cycles or textures. And we'll be talking about all 3 of these modes moving forward, but we'll stay in the Repitch mode. And you can see right below the repitch, we have a little speed dial. So that's going to kind of change how the speed performs within the sample playback. But before we get involved with working that, I'll let you know right across the top of the sample, we have another way to select samples here, a folder which will open up another contextual menu, let you choose additional samples. But right next to that is a little keyboard with some arrows. If I select that, it's going to be 100% and it's going to be key tracking. So now, low keys have the lower pitch and high keys have the higher pitch. But additionally, what you're noticing is the speed. Low key slow, high key fast. And one of the reasons I want to point that out is, again, we now have control of that with our speed control. So I'm going to hold down a pad here on the Ableton Push. And you can see now we can control the speed. So what you notice is if I go forward, of course, it's getting faster with values. And as I decrease the value, it goes into reverse. So that's kind of the concept there behind the speed control. And you can probably start thinking with the power of Bitwig's modulators and the ability to modulate things that we can come up with some really unique sound designs and a really powerful tool for us to use. Now to get this back to its default, I can right click, hit set default, or if it's out of position, I can simply double click and it goes back to exactly where we want it to be. So that being said, that's a quick look at the repitch, but before we move on to the next tutorial, I do want to go over some things along the bottom here. And one of the things you see here next to the play is an R with an arrow pointing to the left. That's going to allow the sample now to be played in reverse. So I'll deselect that. And next to that, we have a couple little numeric values here and some flags. And you'll see if I change the numeric value of the first one, it's simply changing the start point of where the sample begins to play back. So we can do that also with the end, of course, where we can drag. So it's just a different preference of waiting to move the start points. Excuse me, a little cough there. And next to that, we have a loop. And currently it's not set in any loop fashion, it's just moving from left to right. But if I select the 2 arrows next to that, now we have a full loop of the sample. It'll play through and loop back just like you expect in a loop performance. I'll shorten this loop brace just to give you an idea what I'm talking about. So there you can see actually just playing in a straightforward loop. Now the next two arrows are left and right, so more of a ping pong fashion. Play forward and then play in reverse. So there's a couple quick looks at the looping features. Let me move the loop out somewhere to the middle of the sample and show you the next little guy going on right here, which is the crossfade. So what we want to always remember about crossfading is you can't really take advantage of it if the sample start is at the beginning. You want to move the sample start out a little bit away from the beginning. Probably not as far as I have is necessary, but I'm just doing this for the tutorial's sake. So now if I go into the crossfade and change the value, you can see it move there within the loop. And we're going to have a more of a smooth, start and end in case you're dealing with any pops or clicks or any noises that you don't want to come in so abruptly. So that's an idea of what's going on with the crossfade. You can also move it here, or you can move it here. Either way works. So once again, we'll move on to the next tutorial and take a look at additional modes, which the next one in line here looks like to be cycles. So join me in the next tutorial and we'll take a look at cycles within Bitwig Studio Sampler.